People are frustrated. People are angry, and most people that I have spoken to or that have approached me says, I ain't voting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say to the community out there?
We do believe that people voted for a change, and the feedback that I received when it was kind of mixed. Some were very happy that a snap election was called, and some were very frustrated.
Okay.
Some were happy because they said, no, we voted differently. We took seats away from those parties for a reason. You know, the National Alliance lost 1,000 votes in 4 years while sitting in government with 5 ministries. That says something. That is a powerful statement. And I think the people were saying, you know, we did that because we wanted something different. And now it was taken away from us in 17 days. So many were like, let's roll the dice again and see what happens. We'll see what happens. I understand though the frustration because it is a lot, especially to be doing this again in just 6 months. But at the same time, I think it is still our right. People fight for this right to vote. People have died for this right to vote the world over. I myself am frustrated. And I can't say that if I wasn't running, that I would want to participate. But I know myself, and I know that on election day, if I wasn't running, I would still wake up and I would say, you know what, you have to do your civic duty, because the more you pull back and not act, the more bad actors are going to continue to act.
What the priorities of government is. If the priority of government is to really sit, I tell my wife, I said, you know something, there's no way in my days, right, as commissioner, that hospital could have been building and the media wouldn't have put so much pressure on me. You know,
exactly.
The pressure.
You can't get the information.
Yeah,
everything is tight-lipped.
There's no way. And I said, well, I guess things change. I guess in this world, this political world now, it's, okay, they'll take the politician word for it and they go on. But in my days, man, I remember when the auditorium was on the, man, you wanted to fix that and be finished and go on because the pressure that was in you was going. Imagine a hospital, 30 million we spend in medical referrals annually. Man, we're just rinsing this country out. We're just rinsing, and then there is no, and I can't say no check. There are checks and balances, but not enough.
Yeah.
And how hard is it? Our population is only but so small. Population. So if you really want to have a proper control system, you can. Then the question is, okay, but why don't you want it? Because we're accustomed of governing in the confusion.
Yeah.
Because the confusion creates chaos, and then the voters make a decision based on the little information that they have, as opposed to all of the information. Give the people the information and let them make a conscious decision as to who they want to represent them.
The island, where do we stand? Where do we go from here? And what are your biggest concerns right now?
My biggest concerns are the youth. When I go to school and pick my daughter up, and I hear people call me my daughter's dad. And I remember when people used to say to my parents, Omar's dad. That is a reality check of how fast time has flown, And whether we like it or not, this seat, election seat, ministry seat, parliamentary seat, is not for us forever. And if we don't mold the next generation, then we are headed to destruction. At this point, what we have is a lot of finger pointing between generations, and that is the biggest problem. You have an older generation that blames the millennials, and you have a millennials that blame the older generation. Now, we both can sit and blame each other, because I can say, well, before politics, we have had election upon election upon election upon election. The police budget, the harbor deficiencies, GEBE, all of these started way back before a lot of us took place in politics, And a lot of things happened during our tenure that were not right either. But imagine this for 1 second, Valerie, if the older generation would sit down with you, say, listen, these are the mistakes I made. that would save a lot of us from bumping our head, because we know that the door height is lower right here. So instead of me having to go hit my head, I say, I remember the older person tell me, watch out. So when I walk, I'll duck. But what happens, you don't tell us. And this is why I had the saying, pass the baton.
Right, right.
Because when you want to die with that baton, you're dying with the knowledge.
I believe the first order of business is for the government, the person supporting the government in Parliament, to sit together, choose the ministers, ensure that the governing program is aligned, and ensure that the cooperation in ministries takes place. Because a lot of things are stagnated too if VSA, justice, and education don't work together. This situation that we're having now with youth delinquency, challenges with violence and crime, we cannot deal with it from a justice perspective alone. We cannot deal with it from an education perspective alone, and we cannot deal with it from a social development, family and community from VSA alone. These three ministries must work together. And funding is generated through the Ministry of General Affairs. And so having access to funding internationally is something we worked hard on under this government, the Silveria Jacobs II cabinet. We pushed, and we now have access to funding we didn't have before for development, social and economical, as well as to go towards sustainable environment. So let's put differences aside and decide to work in the best interest of the people of St. Martin, and do so with integrity, with the people always coming first, and with clear and open communication and collaboration with our community. I believe there are too many parties. I think that you're giving the population, which is not a large voting population, way too many choices, so we will continue to have instability.
Yes.
So I'm asking the people of St. Martin, you're not voting for individuals, you're voting for parties. So you must look at which party has the best chance of being able to take this country to the next level and can work with other parties in collaboration if you then have a split, if you then don't have a full 8 mandate. The National Alliance has stood head and shoulders above these parties by putting people on the list that can sit in both Parliament and government, and we have passed our screening. If we see someone can't pass the screening, we're not forcing it through and leaving us without a sitting Minister of Education for so long. I believe the Minister of Education, every ministry is important, but education is the main weapon with which to change a country, with which to change the world. And so to ignore or to give it half your attention, part of your attention, in these crucial times, is hurting the country. So I am admonishing the people of St. Martin. I am encouraging you, first, go out and vote.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Enemies cover the truth in sugar and fool you into eating it.
It's a snap election, an election to give the people a chance again.
Let's talk about GB. Let's talk about electoral reform.
We want to make sure that the country goes back to the people.
When we pointed out the worst government in the history of this country, the reduction of property tax to increase business in St. Martin.
For righteousness, unity, and love empowerment.
We are in a situation again that we are heading to the polls.
Can come up. We have shown to be the people's choice.
Just for Dads and Men Masterclass started in June 2024. The schedule is as follows. So in June we had the Principles of Fatherhood by Mr. Lenwood Wilson. In July, we had the Legacy Matters Basic Writing Workshop, and that was facilitated by Mr. Fabian Badijo. In August, we'll be touching on the topic Emotional Intelligence, and that will be done by Mr. Marvio Cooks, my apologies. And then the following session, which will be done in October, because we're taking a break in September, the following will be in October, and the topic will be Co-Parenting Strategies by Pastor Dr. Nanton, and that session takes place on Saturday, October 5th, and then we return again in November, and we'll be covering the topic Rights and Responsibilities of Fathers by Mr. Marciano Geert, and there will also be a motivational presentation by Mr. Dino Arundel. And of course, that session will take place on Friday, November 29th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And again, it will be done at the Government Administration Building in Conference Room 1 and 2. The entire project is free of charge. Interested persons are kindly asked to register, and they can do so by sending an email to cdfha@stmartingov.org. So that's cdfha@stmartingov.org, or they can pass by any of the community help desks for more information or to sign up. So once again, the next session takes place on Friday, August 30th, at the government building from 6:30 to 8 p.m. and the topic will be Emotional Intelligence by Mr. Marvio Cooks.
But go as far as saying, but this is just a political thought to at least bring the agenda forward to the people to be able to at least get votes. How do you differentiate from that mindset in dealing with what you have just presented?
Damn if you do and damn if you don't. And the mindset of individuals will always be the mindset of individuals. Like I said to you earlier, Stephen, I started this in January. There was no elections coming after the elections in January. And the good thing about it is that I know it could have been presented and I know it could have gone forward, because now the coalition and me as a member of the coalition, a leader in the coalition, and also appointing of the Minister of Justice, we had a direct line to see to it that not only is that it's worked on, that it's done, but also executed. So you sort of understand coming together and putting all the pieces together. So now it would have been even worse that I continue to speak about it. I continue to say all these things, that children born in this country. The question would be, yeah, but you appoint the Minister of Justice. Yeah, but you put him there and you can't even get it done. Well, today that's different. Today that's different. So I don't know what happens after August 19th that can make this piece of draft legislation even more difficult. But I know what can happen today. And what has happened today is that it has been presented, and the children in this country are now part of this country. And the minister has said it clear. So it's not my concern whether people take it for votes or not. What I take it for is that now we have done something that haven't been done for a very, very long time, which is give the children of this country, born in this country, alien and foreign parents, residency of this country.
What I will do is basically make sure that everything is fine-tuned. A law firm did it. We also have to leave our legals in government also vetted. And once it is finished, vetted, and they give me the green light that, listen, Minister, it's good to go, or you need to just make a little word change here and there, it will be executed by signature and also be placed in the National Gazette. I would like to also interject based on what MP Emmanuel just said. My position is political. How I serve my country, it is politics. So if it's for votes or not, every single thing that I do is political, because it's only through politics you will be elected. So based on what we do, and this is doing our job. Okay, we are politicians, we are doing our job. So therefore the people need to see, yes, these are the individuals working for this country, and these are the individuals need to be elected. So yes, when people say, oh, they're just doing things for votes, yes, we are doing things for votes. And yes, we are doing the right things for votes. Because the individuals out there, when we help them, we are not helping them. They can't vote for us. They cannot vote for us, the individuals that we are helping. But the people in this country that has common sense to see what leaders in this country is doing for our country, and that it's beneficial for our coffers, because fees will be changed. Okay, all those old outdated legislative fees that we have will be changed, because those fees does not fit today's society. So if you want to say it's politics and it's political, yes, it is. Because at the end of the day, those individuals tomorrow that we assist will become Dutch one day. And they will remember what this political party, the now political party, has set forth for them.
Let me ask you a question. Youngsters have been born on a daily basis practically. Have you been able to do any sort of a research, although your time as Minister of Justice is rather short, to be able to acquire the knowledge as to how many youngsters document less or stateless like MP Christopher?
We are St. Martiners. I am employed at the Justice Ministry for 17 years. Do you know where I started working? At the Immigration Department, giving out papers, giving out residency. That's where I started. Oh, that's where I started. Okay? So, asking me if I need statistics? Yes, we might. Maybe somebody else who doesn't know nothing about this position will need to run to get statistics to try to figure out what we could do. But this minister don't need statistics, because this minister is homegrown, came from this ministry, know exactly the irks and the pains of the people. That right now as minister, I can go through over 1,000 messages that I have on my phones. And do you know what it's about? People are reaching out to this minister because they see that this minister is working. They see that this minister loves people and is pushing for them. So therefore, they bring all their problems to this minister. I would like to know which other minister presently today can say that they are overwhelmed with the amount of requests that individuals are requesting things that they need. And I will ask my staff or others within, by extension, the ministry, and I could get a 2-page letter telling me why they cannot get it. I send those letters back and I say, tell me how they can get it. That is how I work. As a politician, as an appointed individual, as an elected member of parliament, MP Emmanuel, his job is to see how we can get things done for the people in this country.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Crisis across Puerto Rico in the aftermath of Ernesto. The powerful storm, which is now a hurricane, battering the island with winds up to 85 miles per hour, tearing roofs off of homes and leaving nearly 500,000 people in the dark. Luma Energy, the private company in charge of power distribution, pressed repeatedly for a timeline on restoration, but offering no estimate, only telling today.
I can't tell you how long it'll take to us. We do know in certain areas that the damage has been limited, so we should be able to move fast.
Ernesto brushing the island as a tropical storm Wednesday, but still dropping nearly a foot of rain. The downpours and flooded roads sweeping away cars and leading to rescues. The Comedio Dam overflowing as officials say at least 3 major rivers burst their banks, forcing some evacuations in the town of Tua Baja. The storm also barreled through the Virgin Islands, leaving thousands on the U.S. side in the dark.
We want to turn on the power, but we don't know where lines are down, so we can't just turn on the power willy-nilly. We got to make sure we don't electrify anybody.
This morning, Hurricane Ernesto is strengthening over the Atlantic, with Bermuda expected to begin feeling its effects as early as Friday, as officials warn those in its path.
This is not the time to underestimate the power of nature.
And officials here in Bermuda held a press conference yesterday reminding everyone about the importance of preparations with all of the necessary items like food and water. Now, Ernesto will not make landfall in the U.S., but it is important to keep in mind that the forecast indicates it could affect the surf and cause rip currents along the East Coast, something to keep in mind. Hoda? All right. Final preparations underway in Bermuda as Hurricane Ernesto barrels towards the island. The storm gaining strength over the Atlantic, becoming a Category 2 overnight, dumping heavy rain here before it's expected to deliver a glancing blow tomorrow.
It's better to be prepared.
Right in the peak of tourist season. Cruise ships like the Carnival Pride leaving the island early to avoid the worst of the weather. But others haven't been as lucky.
It's been very stressful the last few days.
Newlyweds Olivia and Andrew Dolan, who narrowly avoided Hurricane Debbie at their wedding, say they tried booking an early flight to get out, but everything was sold out. Their honeymoon trip will now likely include a hurricane.
Hopping on a flight to paradise and then being hit with a hurricane was another gut punch.
In Puerto Rico, over 200,000 customers still have no power. Luma Energy, which provides power to the island, making repairs but still giving no timeline when the lights will be back on. Along the U.S. East Coast, beaches warning of dangerous rip currents and surf this weekend as Ernesto turns its way north, staying offshore but putting a damper on one of the last weeks of summer fun. Now, the cruise ships have left a dockyard. The last passenger plane is expected to take off later today as we prepare to essentially shut down the island. Now, the last time a big storm like this came close to Bermuda was 2 years ago with Fiona. It didn't make landfall here. It did get very close, and still, it knocked out power to thousands and caused a lot of damage, and that's why authorities want people to keep in mind how dangerous this can be as we approach the final hours before Ernesto makes it to Bermuda.